What is your version of the Rogue? I believe it's called the Scoundrel in Neon Odyssey.
The Rogue chassis from 5.5 worked shockingly well as far as translating that. And so we, with the skinning that we did and the feature renaming and tooling it to sci-fi, where I get really excited about it is with the subclasses. You have to have your classic space cowboy. So we have the quick draw. Just if you want to play the ultimate sharp eye, that it's high noon, we wanted to make sure that we were hitting all of that fantasy for you, and then you felt like you really could be running through a scene, kicking tables over, getting cover, and just taking out the bad guys. Another classic fantasy is the secret agent. So that's our operative. Our operative Scoundrel uses gadgets and tools, and they are infiltrators. They're able to use their abilities to have the right tool for the job. They're able to basically slip around, and if you want to play it like a sniper that's shooting from the shadows to the point of where you are this killing machine that to the point where you're causing panic amongst the enemies, where bad guys are dropping and no one knows why. The operative is great at that. I think probably my favorite, a lot of people's favorite, I think on the team, favorite subclass is the Chem Boss. The Chem Boss is using a chemical brew to hinder their enemies, but really empower their allies and giving them stims and giving them the opportunity to replace your attack with theirs, but also adding that sneak attack damage that's enhanced by these toxins and chemicals and stims. And finally, we have the Echo, where we have a little bit of timey-wiminess, where you're able to rewind if you mess something up and try again, where you're able to blink around and pause time and get somewhere and suddenly appear right in front of an enemy and take them out. And you're messing with your own temporal placement, as well as messing with your enemies as well.
Yeah, the Chem Boss is a personal favorite of mine as well, and it really was a must-have for me. I knew that we needed a subclass that represented if you wanted to play a corpo, or you wanted to play a mob boss, if you wanted to play just really anyone that utilized kind of all of the sci-fi chemistry and chemical tech that exists and is so iconic. So if you want to play Tony Soprano or Silco from Arcane, it's the perfect subclass for that.
Or the legendary Star Wars character Elan Sleaze Bagano with his death sticks.
Yes.
We had to represent him. We knew that everyone was clamoring to play the best character from Attack of the Clones, so we had to include
Truly.
it. Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Some classes needed more mechanical sanding than others. The Esper is a good example of something that needed some extra foundational features to make it make sense. In the case of the Scoundrel, it does a lot of what we want it to do, and a lot of that mechanical expression goes to the subclasses. But something like Thieves' Cant, like you wouldn't expect someone in a space opera campaign to be using Thieves' Cant hand signs or symbols or subtle words, word slang. So we have our version of it, which we call smuggler slang.
And then what are the subclasses that we're looking at in the first book?
Yep. So in book one, we have the operative and the quick draw. So the operative is your secret agent. They're your infiltrator, your specialist. They can be suave and smooth under pressure, and they can pull out the right dirty trick at the right time to pull the mission off and get out before anyone's the wiser.
Perfect. And how do you manifest this mechanically?
Yeah, so they have this fun trick where whenever they hit or miss a target with an attack roll, they're able to pull from a small list of weapon masteries that they can grab and add on to that attack. And you'll notice I said miss. That's because they can choose graze. If they miss, they can just on the fly decide that they're going to graze with this attack instead of something else.
To have a charismatic rogue in the Scoundrel is perfect.
Yeah.
It's such a sci-fi trope.
As an example, the operative, one of their tricks they can pull is when they fail a deception or persuasion check, they can retry it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
So, all right, so then also in book one, we have the quick draw. When you think Scoundrel, there's
Yeah.
a lot of archetypes that jump to mind, and a gunslinger might be one of them, and this has got you covered. They are quick on the draw. They're great at noticing danger before it falls directly in their lap, so they can react in a split second when they have to, and they're real handy in a gunfight. They get to boost their initiative, which is maybe the easiest and most expected idea of that. They have an ability to increase their chance of scoring a critical hit.
Everyone likes a critical hit.
Yeah, they have the tendency to get in a dead shot every now and then.
And then we've got two other scoundrels.
Yeah. So when we jump over to book 3, we start getting a little weirder, and there we have the Chem Boss. So Chem Boss, Chem, easy, right? They're going to use some sort of pharmaceutical compounds or stims. Maybe they can add some enhancement to their allies. Maybe they can add some debilitation to their enemies. But the boss part of that is, how do you sell that as well as the Chem half of it? And blending that together, they have this fun stim ability where they can, instead of making an attack, they can stim one of their allies to make an attack as a reaction and add their cheap shot damage, sneak attack in D&D terms, to the ally's attack as poison damage or acid damage later.
And then we've got a fourth.
Yeah, then we've got the Echo. The Echo is a scoundrel that cheats by warping through time. They are somehow
I love time.
unstuck from time in some way.
You know this about me. Like I
do.
played a diviner wizard, just like who was on a time loop, and that was the reason he had portents.
Awesome, I love that.
So tell me about this. I love time.
Yeah, so they're great at getting the drop on their enemies because they can sometimes see things a little bit before they happen. They can retry if they fail to do something in some limited fashions. And they also have the ability to sort of speed themselves up or rewind themselves through time so they can teleport, functionally teleport, but they're moving through time, right? So they're jumping ahead and now they're over there.
Yeah.
Or they can jump back to a place they were since their last turn.
Perfect.
And if they do that, it doesn't cost a use of their ability.
I love the Scoundrel, and boy, that is probably. It's funny you mentioned scoundrels and rogues. That makes sense for sci-fi, but you're getting both now with the soldier and now with the Scoundrel. You're getting, I feel like, a broader paintbrush of like fantasy fulfillment.
Yeah, and we're pulling from so many different sources, and one of the key drivers for the things we think about is nostalgia for this sort of 80s, 90s, 2000s things like the Saturday morning cartoons, the movies, the toys that we used to play with. And for people who didn't experience that time, there's this fun concept of anemoia, which is nostalgia for a time that you never experienced. And I have seen it play out with some of our early access, the fans that have gotten to see it, and they'll talk about, I was born in, 2000 whenever. I didn't see this in the 80s, but this sounds awesome and I can't wait.